watch D'Angelo Wallace's Cody Ko video, and then to make us feel better afterwards, watch Titty Tussle on CG Bros channel. Okay, I've never heard of any of these things, so this is going to be a complete mystery to me. Okay, D'Angelo Wallace's Cody. Okay, an uncomfortable conversation about Cody Ko. Okay, I don't know who Cody Ko is.
All right, Cody, let's have an uncomfortable conversation. Someone has been
Okay,
alleging for
I'm not
years now
Cody.
that you, one of the largest commentary creators on YouTube, knowingly committed a crime against her when she was a minor. But YouTubers and viewers alike are ignoring and discrediting these allegations solely because the person making them happens to be an unlikable woman online.
Oh, I see.
And you know that
I see
people
where
are
this is
ignoring
going.
this because nobody is working harder to bury the story than you. And you're getting away with it because commentary YouTube has a serious problem. I can't blame any of your viewers or my viewers
One serious
for not hearing
problem?
about this because you've done such a good job hiding it up until now that I only found out about it recently. The situation has been talked about by smaller channels, it's been discussed at length on other platforms, and it keeps almost
How
hitting the
big is this
mainstream,
channel?
like with this Rolling Stone article or
Oh
this
my god,
H3
2 million
podcast
views.
discussion. But the reason it hasn't caught on yet, despite all of this, is that none of your friends, nobody on your level, nobody in the commentary niche with enough pull is willing to admit that this situation makes you look terrible.
A lot of people like him a lot, and they really are like doing any kind of mental gymnastic to just ignore it.
I'm not here to accuse you of committing a crime in this video because I can't do that based on someone else's allegations. Nobody can definitively take these allegations as proof, but at the same time, they should still be looked at and not treated as an open secret and swept under the rug like you've been doing for so many years now. And from the way the situation keeps popping up more and more often, it's clear that there's only so much rug sweeping you can do before people start taking a closer look at things. So let's take a closer look. We both know that Tana Mongeau is a YouTube personality with a history of lies, controversy, and genuinely problematic behavior that's become so entangled with her brand that her podcast is called Cancelled with Tana Mongeau. And speaking of this podcast, about a month ago, she hosted a live episode in front of an audience, and the conversation turned to you.
I'm reading your stuff, Lucario. I don't know who PK Russell is or anything, though.
This clip started making the rounds, and people were understandably perturbed because if Tana Mongeau was 17, you would have been 25. So people started speculating, and Tana decided to set the record straight.
I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25.
She claims that not only were you fully aware of her age at the time, but someone even tried to stop you, and you went ahead anyway.
There was a situation with Gabby Hanna at a Playlist Live where she pulled him aside and told him, like, yo, she's 17. And then we still went and hooked up.
To be clear, 17 is under the age of consent in many states, including Florida, where Playlist Live used to take place. So this means that Tana Mongeau is accusing you of statutory rape, and she's not trying to hide that.
This isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
Nothing would make this situation better, but plenty of things make it worse, like the fact that she was a fan of yours at the time, adding an additional layer to the power dynamic you would have had over her.
I grew up loving him, and I think you know what I mean? Like, I was just like excited and a fan.
Tana seems to have many feelings about this, which we'll go over a bit later, but she stated very clearly that the actions she's accusing you of are inexcusable.
If I had a 17-year-old daughter or a little sister or something, like, I would kill. I would never let it fly.
These recent allegations are...
So it's just a reminder that if you're under the age of 18, you're not even allowed to watch my stream. If you give any indication that you're under 18, you will be banned. I don't even want to enter the realm of talking to 17-year-olds personally.
They're bad enough on
in
their own,
any
but there are
context.
a couple of things that make them worse still.
No, they have adults in their own life they can talk to about whatever they need, and if they don't, there's other organizations. If there's a troubled teen on here, we can send them to a troubled teen place. This is not a fucking troubled teen place. This is a place for mean adults to be mean to each other and also nice.
Things that many people don't know yet, but you do. You know that Tana has been making the same specific claim against you for years now. Here she is back in 2021 saying the same thing.
I was 17 at the time, 18. I started kind of hooking up with other people. Shout out JC Kalen, shout out Cody Ko.
But what lends the most credibility to Tana's claims, and what is really the most damning thing for you, Cody, is a clip that you might not have even seen yet. See, I read the Rolling Stone article, I watched the YouTube videos about this, and they all missed something. And I understand why. The clip I'm about to show you is extremely hard to find. The original has been lost to time, and it's a wonder we have this on video at all. But if there was anything to give me any more clarity about these allegations before I formed my opinion, I was going to find it. Remember how Tana said that fellow YouTuber Gabby Hanna tried to stop you before everything allegedly went down?
That one Lucario fan saying this is the era of YouTube that I grew up with. Just the mere thought of having grown up with an era of YouTube, it makes me feel old because 2007 when I created my YouTube account, I was already 16. So I mean I was still growing up, but I wouldn't say that I grew up with the YouTube videos, you know. And even then in 2007 I used it mostly to find music videos and AMVs. And I had like a playlist, like my favorites playlist that I would just listen to like every day of everything I'd collected. The only like YouTubers I remember from back then is stuff like Epic Mealtime and Freddie W. And God, who else? Oh, I guess early Smosh, where they were just like mouth lip syncing over like the Mortal Kombat theme or whatever. But I wasn't like a fan of any of them like that, you know? It wasn't until the 2010s that I really got into YouTube culture on a level of like following people and who they follow, you know, like following the connections between YouTubers. And it was mostly Ego Raptor who brought me into that because of like following Ego Raptor's likes and stuff that, you know, I'm always hesitant to call Ego Raptor he. I know he identifies as a he, but I've never wanted to force feminize somebody more in my entire life.
Well, did you know that Gabby is actually on record telling the exact same story several years ago?
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he turned that.
This is really, really bad. People make
That was a great
accusations
cut
all
on
the
that
time,
clip.
specifically regarding things that are very difficult to prove or disprove, unfortunate as that may be. But when somebody makes an allegation and they say they have a witness, and that witness can be found telling the exact same story years before any of this came out, that's not something I can just ignore. In a situation that cannot be proven, corroboration by a third party goes a long way. And frankly, Cody, the allegations against you seem to have been corroborated. But instead of researching to find these answers like I did, many of your fans seem far more interested in attacking your accuser.
I have seen so many comments, but what was she wearing? It's Tana, so who cares? Well, it's Tana Mojo.
The reaction to this has been unsurprising, but incredibly disappointing. Demanding proof that they know she can't provide, acting like she's only doing this to gain clout or ruin you somehow, despite the fact that she's never once put your name in a video title over this. Or worst of all, implying that a 17-year-old could have truly consented to any.
I'm just so happy that this, I assume he's a guy. This guy uses names. I'm only assuming that because that one Lucario fan used those pronouns and has been a fan for a long time. I'm glad that he doesn't censor the names. I hate that Adoseph Buckley cuts out the names of the people he's making fun of for their shitty comments. These people need to be recognized. You should not be allowed to say dumb shit on the internet and have your anonymity protected. People should know that you're the person who said that dumb shit.
Of this. But let's be clear about one thing. That is not the case. No amount of retroactive age calculations or what-if scenarios change the fact that what Tana described would be, objectively speaking, a crime. A crime which you've said absolutely nothing about. And even if this wasn't...
I want people to always remember that the best thing, the greatest gift of freedom of speech is not that you get to say whatever you want. It's that people who shouldn't be saying what they're really thinking will self-report through what they say. If we didn't have freedom of speech, you'd have a bunch of people who are racist and are not saying anything. Whereas because we have this and people feel secure in their ability to say things and feel like, oh, well, it's my freedom to say that. And it's like, yeah, well, okay, why did you exercise that freedom by doing this? You know, that's what's so nice about freedom of speech is we get to see people out themselves for what they're like because they think, well, as long as it's legal, I'm going to do it. And it's like, okay, well, social consequences and legal consequences are categorically different, you know? We don't have to like you because of your opinions. We just can't literally restrict your freedoms because of your opinions. But you know, if you you could have all the legal freedom in the world, and if nobody likes you, you're still going to be a lonely dumbass piece of shit who needs to change their opinions if they want to have friends. It's just the way it be sometimes.
Illegal, you remember being 25. You would have known then, as I currently know at age 25, that nobody this age should need an explanation for why a 17-year-old is off limits, because you remember being 17 too. Now, thankfully, Tana's personal experience with this isn't one of trauma. In fact, I've seen people defending you by saying, Tana said she doesn't care, so why should any of us care? But that's not exactly what she was saying.
I don't associate or hold it with trauma because I am such a comparative person where I'm like, so many worse things have happened to me.
And even if something isn't consciously internalized as an identifiable
I mean,
source of
that's sad in and of itself that so many worse things have happened to her than this already very bad thing. Like, well, that's its own kind of sadness.
trauma, the body keeps the score.
I know things manifest in ways other than me directly feeling them. Like maybe I don't feel traumatized in certain aspects from certain things, and other things I do. But, you know, maybe they just manifest in ways other than directly feeling.
The answer to why any of us should care is that a person has tried to come forward about her experience and has been met with the most vitriolic victim blaming I've seen in years. She's been dismissed, discredited, and disbelieved before anybody ever gave her a chance. Because it's Tana, which sets a horrible precedent that if a person runs out of goodwill, they lose the right to come forward with their experiences.
The most traumatizing thing of all of this really was seeing how many people like don't believe people or don't believe me. I feel so bad for all of these young girls because then they see that and then it makes them not want to come forward.
And you, Cody, are part of the reason she's been met with this reaction. Your status as one of YouTube's golden boys has made it possible for you to ignore a situation that almost anyone else would have had to respond to by now.
I know for a fact if you swapped out Cody Ko with someone that like people didn't like that much, I would be receiving so much more sympathy.
I find your silence on the situation to be uncomfortable because I know that if Tana's allegations are true, then silence would be your only option, since telling the truth would be tantamount to confessing to a crime, and lying would put you at risk of being contradicted by a witness. And like I told you at the beginning, I'm not accusing you of committing a crime, but even if what Tana says is false, your silence is still grossly incompetent at best. Why are you choosing the path that would be your only option if you were guilty? Now, some seem to think that you're not obligated to speak up, and maybe that's what people are.
That was what made the Dr. Disrespect tweet so hilarious, was that like he only said what was legally possible to say, which was basically confessing, but also confessing in a way where you can't describe the details, but the details you can't that you're like deliberately leaving out makes it sound worse. Like, oh, what you're implying is that you did something much worse than what you're saying, and you can't go into details because it's so bad. You know, like he's like, well, this guy's just completely silent, not denying anything. So that's even, you know, it just makes it seem like, so you did everything? All right.
Around you are telling you as well. But from one creator to another, you absolutely have an obligation to, at the very least, call out the misogyny, the victim blaming, and all manner of cognitive dissonance that's coming from your audience in the name of defending you against allegations that you're too cowardly to address. And to be clear, this is cowardice because you demonstrate it whenever there's controversy afoot. Tana's further claims make it sound like you're terrified.
I said something about it online and it was starting to surface. And he texted me like, are we good? And was like, I said, yeah. And like, he was like, my wedding's coming up.
You do have a history of making bad choices when you're terrified of people finding things out, like your history of using slurs.
5, nigga, 6, nigga, 7, nigga, 8, nigga, 9, nigga.
There's more clips than that, but the reason most people are blissfully unaware of them is because you posted your vague apology not on Twitter, not on YouTube, but on Patreon, despite acknowledging in your apology that the clips were surfacing on Twitter. This is
so
one
that
of
you
many
could say that
examples of
you
your
posted an
poor handling of
apology
controversy.
somewhere.
Not many people know that you've already lost fans over an eerily similar topic. You used to frequently feature and promote your college friend Colby Leachman in your videos until it came out that during your school days, Leachman's university put him on probation for, as a United States District Judge would later put it, the non-consensual videotaping of a sex act with another student, showing the video to other people, lying to the police about the video, and behaving horribly to that individual and at least one other woman. To make matters worse, the woman in the video also alleged that Leachman drugged her before the recording and that she hadn't actually consented to anything at all. You had this man in your videos. You were telling us to follow him on Instagram, and at some point you did wise up, so he's no longer part of your content, but he still seems like he's very much a part of your friend group. From the continued hangout since then to inviting him to your wedding just last year, people are under the impression that you're best friends with someone who, at best, committed an illegal sex act and at worst is an alleged rapist. And no matter how many times people rediscover this information over the years, you refuse to say anything at all. You could clarify this, but you won't. But now your cowardice has reached a new low. You've tried speaking and you've tried silence, and now you're choosing censorship. On your YouTube channel, where you've been pumping out content nearly every day now, I couldn't find a single comment on your last video about this situation. Not even one. Comparing that to the comment section on your Instagram, where every single comment I saw was about this, it's clear that you're heavily censoring your audience on YouTube. But surely you must have realized the limits by now, since people have just transferred the conversation over to your wife's channel. The fact that her comment section is overrun due to your decision to stay silent about this should be all the proof you need that that decision was wrong. At this point, your silence and censorship are a response with disturbing implications. The only thing that I've seen this hidden portion of your audience asking for is the truth. So why aren't you telling it? And your silence isn't the only one that's bothering me either.
All these Reddit threads, like if my name's on any thread, it's all getting deleted.
I witnessed the heavy-handed moderation of your subreddit in real time as I researched this video. I would refresh the page and posts would suddenly be unapproved by moderators after racking up hundreds of comments, removed because they could, quote, instigate drama, or more commonly, just locked and or removed with no reason given whatsoever. I'm sure whoever is doing this thinks they're helping you, but you should probably tell them that they're making things look 10 times worse. But it's not just your moderators, it's your friends and fellow YouTubers too. It's no coincidence that with the exception of the H3 podcast, I haven't seen a single channel over 1 million subscribers do so much as acknowledge that this situation exists. And I'm not talking about channels that never would have discussed something like this either. I mean the same channels that were rightfully calling out people like Dr. Disrespect for texting a minor, which are the same channels that are now completely ignoring a scenario with an even bigger creator being accused of doing something much worse. You can't say it's because the allegations are unconfirmed.
I know the reason
The
I
channels
can
that I'm
never
talking about just
I can never break into this level of YouTube creator space because it requires me to like pay attention to and know who the other ones are. Like when he was saying like, oh, all these million sub channels haven't even talked about this. I'm like, oh God, would I have to know about this? Like would having 1 million subs necessitate that I know about everybody else who has 1 million subs? That sounds daunting. Especially because most YouTubers are boring.
discuss rumors all the time. And this video is all the proof you need that there's still plenty to discuss even without making definitive statements. The general public may not know about the situation, but I promise you, anyone who's online enough to run a YouTube channel does.
The amount of people in this industry who like want to protect him and are like talking to me in a way where it's like they, you know what I mean? Like, or even just friends like, but I love him.
The community's silence on this has been so staggering that people are now saying that commentary YouTube is a boys club, aka a male-dominated space that mistreats women while enabling and protecting men. And the truth is, Cody, whether you're guilty or not, you are being enabled to ignore this and protected from having to respond as an act of misogyny towards Tana Mojo. We both know that on our side of commentary YouTube, any man can easily elevate himself by dunking on misogynists in his content and espousing a generally feminist viewpoint. But if that viewpoint turns to silence the moment a situation is no longer cut and dry, then that viewpoint was a brand strategy, not a belief. The misogyny that we should be discussing is right here in the community, yet the only thing I'm hearing is a bitter, hollow silence, one that you have the power to end. I said it in the beginning, I said it in the middle, and I'll end with this. One person's testimony does not give me the right to accuse you of doing anything illegal. but I can point out the facts. It's a fact that you and Tana were around each other during the years she specified, as seen in your uncomfortable collab videos, which are still online. It's a fact that Gabby Hanna has made claims that seem to corroborate Tana's allegations against you. And it's a fact that you are suppressing your audience's knowledge of these allegations by censoring your YouTube comment section. These things may not prove Tana's allegation, but you better believe that they contextualize them in a way that you need to address. And you still have every right to address this, even now. If you have a side of the story that we're missing, then tell it. If I have my facts wrong, say something. Nobody should ever be denied the right to tell the truth, no matter what. I'm sure we can all agree that everyone should have the right to speak their truth. But that's exactly why I couldn't just sit here and watch the whole world tell Tana that it doesn't apply to her. Regardless of the truth of the situation, I'm just so disappointed either way. That is all. Goodbye, Cody.
Well, that was a very well-made video about some shit I know nothing about. I'm sure I'd be very disappointed in this Cody Ko person if I knew who they were.